Today on the news and why it matters, Elizabeth Warren promises criminal penalties for people who spread disinformation online. Just how self-unaware is Elizabeth Warren? Also, she wants to make sure her Secretary of Education will be vetted by a trans child. What could possibly go wrong? And Chief Justice John Roberts refuses to allow Rand Paul to submit a question in the impeachment trial because it contains the name of the whistleblower. We've got a lot coming up, and it starts right now. Hey, welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by one individual who always makes me self-conscious about the way that I say news, Graham Allen.
I just pointed it out.
Host of the Dear America podcast.
Wisconsin.
I'm not, though. It's
Minnesota. That's what it sounds like.
It's so weird. I don't know why. I'm born and raised in Texas. Have no idea why I have this weird accent.
You've ashamed everyone with that accent.
I'm sorry, Texas. Chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program, Jason Buttrill. And on his maiden voyage of the show, we have Austen Fletcher. I always want to just call you Fleckas because that's how I know you. But YouTube host of Fleckas Talks. Happy to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Got a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So I know the two of you are former military. You do a lot of walking on the streets.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
So you can...
We're the same person.
I mean, obviously, same.
Exactly the same.
But I mean, former military, your joints are just ruined by now, right?
Jacked.
Yeah.
Just completely ruined.
I am not in good health. It's just bad. It's real bad.
Thanks, America. But if you are one of many Americans who you just suffer in constant pain, maybe you're former military or a veteran and your knees are not what they used to be. Maybe you were in a car accident. Maybe you're just getting old like me. I don't know what it is, but if you are suffering in pain, it doesn't have to be that way. You can try Relief Factor. It is 100% natural. It targets the inflammation in your body, which oftentimes that's the root cause of your pain, and you don't know it because you're masking it with pharmaceutical drugs that have terrible side effects. Don't do that. Try Relief Factor. They have a 3-week quick start pack you can try at relieffactor.com. 70% of the people who buy that, they go on to keep ordering more. Yeah, that's how many people it's working for. It can work for you. It can change your life, really, if it works. You can go to relieffactor.com, $19.95 for that 3-week quick start pack. See if it works for you. That is relieffactor.com. Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren has laid out a new plan, because she has a plan for that, guys, punishing people who share, quote, misleading information online, proposing criminal penalties for those who spread disinformation online. She promises to hold tech companies and anyone else responsible for the spread of disinformation, and vowed to require the firms to ramp up monitoring of users' accounts, of course, calling out Facebook, which is her famoment one to call out.
Well, she's sure to not include there's nothing retroactive. Because it starts now.
As of this moment.
Not back then.
This moment. For its Facebook, for its troubling practice of allowing users to instantaneously share information in groups. How dare they allow people to spread like what they want to say and stuff. Graham, we will get into the other interesting tidbit about Elizabeth Warren and what could possibly go wrong with her Secretary of Education pick.
Yes.
But are we sure that we want Elizabeth Warren, as Jason pointed out, making sure that people are not spreading disinformation? I don't think she has a great track record.
She would be the first real commander-in-chief. She would be the first real one. No, like you said, they need to, not make it retroactive. She needs to be clear. Just to be clear, I'm a blonde-headed white woman that has never, ever had any ties to Indian heritage of any way, shape, form, or fashion. No, of course, she doesn't like it because everyone thought that Facebook was going to lean towards the Democrat. In fact, we've said it for forever. Oh, Facebook hates us conservatives.
Yeah.
But then Mark Zuckerberg, out of nowhere, comes out and says, I'm just going to let people say whatever they want to say. And ever since then, Elizabeth Warren has just, it's a good thing she's not Hillary Clinton, or Mark Zuckerberg would already not be here. I'm just
he would have gotten suicided.
He would have been suicided.
It's interesting because it apparently seems that if you are just saying, I'm just going to play neutral, I'm just going to be Switzerland, you're now in the bag for conservatives, like Mark Zuckerberg has been painted. I mean, he got slammed for, guys, going out to dinner with conservatives. Can you believe it?
He's obviously a Nazi. I mean, that's proof positive right there. There's so much to say about this. We're just forgetting the fact, of her track record. She's not the poster child for someone that should be pushing this legislation. But it's no surprise that who does she want to enforce these rules? She wants the government to be in charge of these rules.
Right.
And the reason we're in this, and we've talked about this on the show before, and it should be obvious to everyone, apparently not the people voting for them, but the reason we're in this situation before is because there was government intrusion inside these tech companies to begin with. Section 230 protections have to go away.
Yeah.
They have to go away. That's all you have to do. That's the government. They do need to step in. They need to step in and get involved, but only to erase the problems that they put there to begin with. Let these tech companies figure it out for themselves. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to write any laws like what she's proposing. You don't have to do that. You just let the pocketbook and the greenback do the job for them. Facebook is going to fix themselves once they get slammed with private, personal lawsuits. They're just going to do it. They're going to fix it themselves, or they're going to go under.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's another tech company that's got the best, the latest innovation, whether it's, censoring or whether it's just let it all hang out and deal with it in the courts. The free market will fix this.
Yeah. Austen, I feel like you probably would have a lot of personal experience with, how maybe Facebook, YouTube, those platforms could maybe say you're spreading disinformation, maybe demonetize a video, and you go back and look at it and you're like, there's nothing false that I said here.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. I'm constantly demonetized on YouTube, but Facebook has actually stepped in a little bit and been a little looser with the regulations and allowed us to monetize more. So they kind of realize that a lot of their audience are older people that are, support the military, support the police, they like America in general. So, why eliminate that huge base? It's just really ironic. The irony bells are going off in my head when I hear Elizabeth Warren saying this. And to all the masses who are just kind of like apolitical and watching, they must assume, oh yeah, it's the right. They wouldn't bring it up if it was them spreading disinformation. It must be everyone on the right who's doing that. So it kind of just keeps people off their trail a little bit too.
It's interesting to me just how completely transparent the left has become when it comes to someone having an opposing viewpoint and wanting to shut it down. I mean, they so transparently just want to shut down anyone who has any opposing viewpoint who does not agree with their specific political agenda. It's crazy. But Elizabeth Warren also making headlines because she has decided, after I'm sure much deliberation, she's going down in the polls. Poll numbers do not look good for Elizabeth Warren right now. She is a sinking ship, and apparently she has decided to take the Beto O'Rourke approach of just arm flailing in desperation, trying to stay afloat, trying to be pander grandma to anyone that she can pander to. Here's what she had to say about how she will vet her Secretary of Education.
In fact, I have two qualifications that I've talked about over and over for my Secretary of Education. The first, it has to be someone who's taught in a public school. Hello? And part two, because it came from a young trans person who asked about a welcoming community, and I said it starts with a Secretary of Education who has a lot to do with where we spend our money, with what gets advanced in our public schools, with what the standards are. And I said, I'm going to have a Secretary of Education that this young trans person interviews on my behalf. And only if this person believes that our Secretary or Secretary of Education nominee is someone who is committed to creating a welcoming environment, a safe environment, and a full educational curriculum for everyone, will that person actually be advanced to be Secretary of Education?
I love when she does that.
I have a feeling you guys may have something to say about this. I would just like to add, for clarification purposes, the young trans child that she was referring to was, of course, the 9-year-old trans child who asked a question at one of her town halls. 9 years old, a girl who identifies as a boy. She went by the name Jacob and asked Elizabeth Warren a question about schools. So literally, you have a Democratic presidential candidate who just said she wants to use a 9-year-old child to vet who she will put in as Secretary of Education. What could possibly go wrong here?
Where to begin? This is the same woman who said she wanted over half of her cabinet to be, what was it, gender fluid or gender neutral?
Yeah, and non-binary.
Non-binary people. And I said, well, what if it's a bunch of white dudes that identify as women of color? Can we just do it that way? Even take the transgender part out. Because honestly, that has nothing to do with it. It's a 9-year-old.
Right.
9-year-old kid.
Yes.
This 9-year-old kid is going to interview an adult that's in charge of education throughout the entire country. Sure, why not? My kid is 9 and he still thinks that he could be Batman.
In her defense, most liberal policies are pretty childlike.
Yeah.
So I guess this is right in line.
That's true. That's a great point.
I don't know. They've done this forever. They want to lower voting ages. Yes. It is a constant attempt to appear like they have the best interest for the country in mind, but really what they want to do is they want to involve the people that are the most impressionable that they can mold exactly the way that they want them to. They don't want adults who can actually use logical thought and process of elimination for the right person. They're just going to have this woke moment that's going to be on Facebook and spread all over Facebook. Where's the false information for that? Dadgummit.
Austin, there's Greta, David Hogg.
She trademarked her name, by the way. Greta.
No, she didn't.
I didn't know
Greta
there was a lot of
TM.
Greta Thornbergs out there or whatever, but apparently there is. Sorry.
Oh my
Completely
gosh,
not
that's
the point.
ridiculous.
But,
but you see all of these child stars that the left is just kind of propping up as people who we should listen to, people who should be able to dictate policy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's going great for Jacob's mom. She was the one next to the trans child during the debates, and she was very excited about the applause and the reception. So I think a lot of it is the parents behind the scenes trademarking Greta Thunberg's name. I'm sure that wasn't her idea. Yeah. So it's going great for the parents. It's going great for the brand building, it looks like. And they just use a technique of using a protected class. It's a trans child. Are you going to attack a child? Are you going to attack a trans person? Everyone kind of goes like this, and then they just get their message right across. The masses absorb it, and that's public opinion now.
Which is really funny the way that they do that, because they say you need to listen to this person and you're not allowed to criticize them for being a child. And then they're like, oh, it's a child. You can't talk about them. And it's like, but if it's a child, then we probably shouldn't be listening to them.
But you can talk some serious crap about their sorry parents is what you can do.
Yeah,
That's what you do. I'm not attacking the trans child. I'm attacking the trans child's parents. That's what I'm doing.
For telling them that this was okay.
Yeah,
Jason, last word.
It's absolutely ridiculous that a child is going to be advising her on who it. But regardless, I will include the trans part, because we used to be able to say what this was. This is a mental problem.
Yes.
The Board of Medicine used to classify it as that. It might still be classified as that, but now we can't say that because we have to. This is a small percentage of the world, of the country, whatever. But then they're making it seem like they're just crazy victims, and that's Elizabeth Warren's go-to. Look, every single lie we've caught her in, whether it's being her pregnancy, getting fired, being a minority, whatever.
Her son going to public school.
Her son,
when he went to private
but then
school.
what she just said was that they have to graduate public school.
Hello.
Hello.
What are you talking about? You're owning yourself right in front of camera. But it's all about being a victim. She was a victim from all these things. Let me pick out somebody else that's marginalized and a victim. I'm just so sick and tired of it. I guess apparently the left is now too, with their falling in the polls.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's a bold strategy to pander to 0.6% of the population. We'll see how that works out for her. Coming up next, Chief Justice Roberts censors questions from Rand Paul. Well, Rand Paul released them anyway, and we have the questions from the impeachment trial when we come back. Jason, I know. Mitch McConnell now apparently has the votes. Since last night, he had a good little meeting, I think, with Murkowski, I read.
And Collins? Probably?
Yeah, and Collins, who released a bunch of threatening voicemails.
It's always the same, too,
I know.
on everything.
I know.
Gosh.
Screw Romney, whatever. He can do whatever he wants. But he apparently met with them, and he now has the votes that they could block the witnesses. Jason says he thinks that they should just go ahead and block any new witnesses. Let's just be done with this and acquit him. What say you?
I think any sane person doesn't care. at this point. I mean, because any rational person realizes that this never should have gotten this far in the first place.
Yeah.
What they claim the president did, which was the reason that they brought forth the articles of impeachment, has already been proven time and time and time again that did not happen in any shape, form, or fashion. So I don't care. It's one of those things at this point, I truly do not care. Let's call this what it is. Let's get it over with. Stick a knife in it, it's done. And all this is doing is just further empowering Trump's base already. It is, in my opinion, flipping people that were on the fence towards the president in the first place. And I even think that it's making some people that were firm Democrats start to pull away from their own party because they're seeing how weak they all look right this second. They look desperate.
That's interesting. If that's true, I hope that's true.
I do. I
Because
think it's very true.
The only thing that I would be worried about and just full-on dismissal of any witnesses or any other information would be those middle-of-the-road people that are truly on the fence.
Optics for them they're saying, well, what are they trying to cover up if they're not letting people come and talk?
That I don't know. I hope what Graham says is correct. If that's true, then they should. There's no question in my mind. Do it. But I don't. That's the only thing that I'm sure McConnell is having to weigh there.
Yeah, Austin, what do you think?
I want to see it go all the way. I want to call witnesses. I want it to go both ways, witness for witness. I want Hunter Biden to go down, Adam Schiff, all these people. I think they're highly compromised. I think that's why this is even existing in the first place. And I don't think if it just gets thrown out and, we're not going to call it even and move forward fairly. We have to kind of settle this and get to the root of why everyone's so mad and why everyone's trying to take down Trump so bad.
Do you wonder if the Republicans are not, because they're not more willing to do this, if maybe they're scared that their own dirty laundry will be waved in the air if they
100%. I think
dig through this?
Going to root out a lot of the establishment characters on both sides. And that's just the name of the game. And I think a lot of people maybe originally were not sure about Trump and kind of against him, maybe even did some shady things against him, and maybe have changed sides since then. But there's still that establishment root on both sides that needs to be exposed by this.
I agree. I used to be completely on board with you. Like, I wanted all these people to come out so we'd all get out there, and finally the media couldn't hide the fact that all this stuff was going on for them. I'm just so pissed off now. I just want it to be over with. But
because based on principle, right? Like the House didn't do their job investigating. They didn't do a thorough investigation. There's no evidence there.
You rushed it through. You get what you deserve.
Right.
But at this point, I mean, the media is not going to do us any favors on this. I had an argument yesterday with one of the CNN's main fact checkers, and he just did this thing that got retweeted all over the place, saying there's no evidence that Biden did what he did for his son's benefit and firing that prosecutor. And we did a whole show on that. So I just started tweeting at him, and then all these people were like, you're lying. And I just would reply with all the links to all the different pieces of evidence that we had. And no one cared. Their mind is made up.
Yes.
So they're not going to believe this until it comes out in some kind of public forum where they can go, well, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
And even then, I still don't think they believe it.
Yeah, probably not. All right, back in a minute.
Yeah, that fact checker.
Hey, before we go into overtime, don't forget to check out, if you have not already, the Dear America podcast with Graham Allen. Make sure to subscribe to that wherever you get your
I heard
podcast.
he's racist, though, so be careful.
Oh, be really
That's what
careful
I've
with
heard.
him. I've heard that too. Also, check out Flecka's Talks on YouTube with Austen Fletcher. He's got some amazing Man on the Street videos. Overtime starts next.